So let's talk a little bit about, you grew up reading comic books. What was the first thing someone handed to you back then? Do you remember what it was?
Yeah,
because it was your friend who you'd known forever.
Yeah. So I the real origin story was I was sitting in homeroom first day of sixth grade, so it was the beginning of middle school, all new classmates, right? You're combining all these different elementary schools, and I'm sitting up front, and I was a voracious reader, and I was reading, do you remember when the Batman movie came out, the Tim Burton one? And they had all these kind of like tie-in things. And one of the things they put out was this anthology novel of Batman short stories. But it was a novel. And they were all original. I mean, like, I think Max Allen Collins wrote something in there. There was a bunch of like comic book writers and novelists, and they were all writing like short little Batman stories. And I was reading this book, and my buddy John, who I hadn't met yet, looked over, saw I was reading it, and assumed because I was reading a Batman book that I was a comic book fan. And so he started talking to me, and the first thing he handed me was a Chris Claremont, Jim Lee X-Men book.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it just
blew your mind.
Blew my mind.
That's so cool.
And I still, I had comics that I read like so many times that I had them memorized. I think it's, one of the powerful things about comics is, and about this fandom is a lot of us discover it in those formative years, and it's rooted
in who we are.
Right?
Absolutely. And what books are you reading now? What books are you kind of like, what has your attention right now? What are you excited about?
A lot of boom books, and partially because I've got 2 kids and a wife and a life outside of this, and I work a lot. And so part of what I read is what we publish because it's my job, but also because I love it. What we publish. One of my favorite books right now is Giant Days, which is the backdrop for our conversation here, and also this book right here. And so Giant Days is a really amazing series created by John Allison. Max Sarin has been the artist on this for most of the run. Before that, Lisa Tremin was the original artist on it. And it's about 3 girls in college, and it's their freshman year of college. In a university in the UK. John is British, and so that's where it takes place. But it really is about their lives. It's called Giant Days because that's what college feels like.
Yeah.
Right? Every day is gigantic. Every day is full of drama. Every day is full of like new experiences and evolving who you are. And the 3 characters are really distinct. And I think it's also a great reflection of that college experience where you get thrown into a dorm with people who you've never met before that end up being some of your closest friends in life. But if you had met them through a different way, you would never like give them the time of day, right? So like, Daisy is this homeschooled, kind of very shy, a little bit of a strange kid. Esther is like a very vivacious, outgoing goth girl. And then Susan is kind of this, old beyond her years, kind of intellectual, and they get into all sorts of hijinks, and it's just I've described it as like Gilmore Girls in comic form, or it's really remarkable. John does something that's incredibly difficult to do in comics, which is it's incredibly funny. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be consistently and really effectively funny in comics.
Of course, and I feel like it comes with just being good at writing and telling great stories.
Yeah, I mean, he would tell you it's because he started on webcomics. So the way he honed his craft was writing 3-panel gags. And so when you have a larger canvas,
you have to draw them out and continue to come back to them, and you have to know those characters inside and out and know how they'd react. And one comic book I'm a big fan of is Mehcad. I think Mehcad is just such a fun book. And I mean, it's just such a heartfelt book with this kind of kid who kind of is thrust into this world where he kind of always wanted to be. I feel like he was, and he kind of gets thrust into it without.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Greg Pak and Takeshi Miyazawa did really brilliantly is they zeroed in on a feeling that I think a lot of us who love comics can relate to, which is that feeling of not fitting in.
Yep.
Right. And feeling like the outsider. And Stanford Yu, who's the main character, is in this world where basically giant space aliens come down periodically, Godzilla style, and ravage Earth. And then these robots, these mechs, come down from space and they pick pilots, and for some reason they pick teenagers, and so there is an academy that has sprung up where everybody gets trained to be a potential mech pilot, but they don't know who's going to get picked. And Stanford is the janitor's kid, so he lives on the base because his mom is the janitor, and through happenstance and fate, he gets selected. And in fact, he gets selected over this other character, and she's the general's daughter. She's the chosen one. She's supposed to be like the second coming of. Absolutely, she's Lancelot. She's the chosen one. And he is not, and he gets chosen over her, and then her father builds a man-made mech that she pilots, and it's a story about these kids and about being the one that wasn't supposed to be there, trying to find your place and all that. And I think for Greg, who came to us with this project with Takeshi, this was something that was really deeply personal to both of them, where he combined. These guys combined everything they loved from their childhood, this idea of teen heroes and robots and giant monsters, and specifically, I think, for Greg and Takeshi, the idea of putting an Asian character in the lead role, in the hero role.
Absolutely.
Which you don't see a lot. And that's a through line for a lot of these boom books. It's like, what's the song in your heart? What's the thing that you want to write forever? Judas was an amazing book that we published last year, and it's the true story of Judas, who arguably is one of the greatest villains in the Bible.
Yeah, he is probably one of the greatest villains in the world ever. He is the literal Antichrist. It's
right. He's the betrayer, right? And so and even the name Judas is the name is so infamous. It's like Adolf. You don't have kids named Judas because Judas is a reference to people that betray you.
Yep.
Right? And Jeff Loveness came to us with this idea of is Judas the greatest villain, or was he kind of damned to this fate and ultimately not in control of his life? And can I make him a sympathetic character in the greatest story ever told? And so Eric Harburn, who's the editor on this paradigm with this amazing artist, Jakob Rebelka, who had done Nameless with us, and they really channeled something. What I think is amazing about this book and kind of magical about this place is when you get this pitch in, there are two versions of this book. There is this version, which is elevated and smart and really speaks to the human condition and really kind of opens up your way of thinking about people. And there's the really bad version. And this is another thing I tell aspiring creators is ideas are not the hard part. Everybody has ideas. Everybody's probably got at least one awesome idea in them. But having multiple great ideas, and more importantly, being able to execute those ideas, that's the hard part. That's where the craft comes in.
It's all about execution, because you can have the best idea in the world. It's like, how many people come up to me and pitch me a comic book or pitch me something, and then you go, oh, that's nice, but then you don't know if they can work on a monthly schedule. You don't know what the writing quality, what the art quality is going to be like, and it's important that you know who you're working with, because that's the most important thing. You don't want to put out a product that's substandard, and then that affects you and your brand negatively. That's something that is something you want to just always continue to put out quality at the highest level.